Right, here we go. It's been 2 weeks in the making because my memory is not what it should be. I kept missing things, and I still don't think this list is right. But nevertheless, it makes for some quite interesting viewing, I think you'll find. So without further ado, Tone's car history, 1990 to present day, take one. And these are all cars that I've bought to drive, not to sell. Jesus, if we do the cars I've bought to sell edition, it'll be about a week long, and I wouldn't even know where to start. So, the very first one out the blocks, the day I passed my test, the Vauxhall Viva 1300 LX, as sold to me by my father, as you will know from the previous My Father's Car History video. I bought it off him in January, end of January, and wrote it off on Valentine's Day. I hit a parked car 30 yards from my house because I didn't bother to defrost the windscreen properly. True story. 17 years old, pushed the car into a wall, destroyed the car, destroyed the wall, destroyed my car. Didn't hurt myself, luckily. That was about the only saving grace of it. So I owned a car for 2 weeks and wrote it off. And that was the start of my car history. So then, I went back to motorbikes for a year. KMX 125 if you're interested. And then I moved on to the mighty Citroen BX 16 RS. Oh, yes. Full air suspension. Didn't work properly. Non-return indicators on a clicky switch on a stalk. They were weird. Grey interior, that was weird. It was all grey, it was all light grey, everything. Yeah, it was an awful car, but it did the job for a couple of years, and then I had to get rid of it because it was knackered. And then moved on to the mighty Mark II Cavalier 1300L, and I wasn't even a sales rep. As far as I'm aware, these things were designed exclusively for sales reps in the 80s, early 90s. And nevertheless, I had one. Oh, it was a heap of shit. It was terrible. It never run right. It never drove right. It was just terrible. It was absolute shed of a thing. And then I met my second wife. And things improved a bit there. Because I went out and bought myself a Peugeot 306 Turbo diesel. And I bloody loved it. Absolutely loved it. What a car. They were good little cars. Proper solid little thing. Considering the Peugeot 205 was made of sardine tins, the 306 was actually a solid little car. And 2-litre turbo diesel engine. Went all right. Went round corners really well. Put some Pirelli P60s on it, so it went round corners even better. Love that car. So much so that after a couple of years, I traded it in for another one. And a white one this time. And then, did we have kids at that point? No, we still didn't have kids at this point. Though I think she may have been pregnant. Because I went to one of these, I'm now living up country. And I went to one of these car supermarkets, Motor Warehouse 2000 or something was it called? On the, is it the A5, the big straight road, the Roman road that goes through Cannock? Up there somewhere. Anyway, went in, bought a 6 months old Vauxhall Vectra SRI 130 saloon in black with all the body skirt. I couldn't find the exact photo. This is similar. In black. It had the spoiler on the back. It had the skirts around the side. It looked like a touring car. And I went round thinking I was driving a touring car. And I absolutely loved that car. That was a good car. But it depreciated faster than a fucking milk float. That was the problem with it. And I lost thousands on that. Thousands. Because by that time, child number 2 was on the way. So we needed something bigger with a bigger boot because it had the saloon boot And you couldn't get the, well, you could get the double buggy in, but basically she wanted something bigger. So I know what you're thinking. Oh, you must have gone and bought yourself a like A4 Avant or something, Tone, or you know, like a BMW Touring or something like that. No, I bought, still in my opinion, one of the greatest cars ever made, brand new, straight out the showroom, Citroen Zara Picasso, exclusive. Oh, no, I know what you're saying, and I know you're shouting at the telly and going, you're a wanker. No, hear me out, right? For a start, if you've got a couple of babies, we had 2 kids under 2 at that point, so we had double buggies and all this shit that you have to carry around with kids. So you need a big boot. The Picasso has one of the biggest. It's amazing. It comes with its own shopping trolley. The back seats, there's storage bins everywhere. There's seat back tables. The middle thing folds down with a table and 2 cup holders in it. There's storage bins under the floor for smuggling drugs. My glove box was refrigerated in a Picasso. I had full climate control. I had cruise control. I had everything. I had captain's chairs, arms, both sides. Check them out, left and right. I'm telling you, it's still one of the greatest cars ever made. Granted, it looked like a cream egg. It handled like a piece of shit. But it was quite efficient on fuel. And as a family practical car, it was amazing. It really was. But I was busy having a midlife crisis by this point. So I went out and got an Audi 80. So that she could have the Picasso with the kids. And I could relive my youth. Pretending I was Juha Kankinen or someone in a Quattro. Except it wasn't a Quattro. It was just a boring Audi 82 litre. But it smelt like an Audi. It felt like an Audi, and it was ace, and I loved it. Right up until the point where the engine mount sheared off driving down the A30 and shat the engine all over the road. And then it went to the scrapyard, and that was the end of that. So then moved back to Cornwall. Needed a car for going to and fro work. And I've always been a fan of these. Largely because I discovered that if you fold the back seats down, the front seats down, they go down really well and you can end up with a double bed. And it was really nice for when I worked at the campsite and had to entertain the guests. We'll leave it at that. And it was the Rover 414 SLI. I still think Rover made decent cars back then. Yes, it's very Partridge. Yes, it's very dull. Yes, it's very Rover. But it was all right, you know, as cars go. It wasn't badly built. It wasn't a Montego. It was all right. And I liked it. Mine was white. And I had it for about a year, I think, that. I kept that for quite some time. Because I liked it. I felt like I was an old man in a young man's body. Then I decided after my midlife crisis that I would set up my own taxi firm. So for that, I needed a diesel. I needed it to be efficient and I needed it to be comfortable. So I bought a Peugeot 407. There it is, all sign written up. Look, Jola Taxi, after the Vanessa Paradis song, became my name for about 15 years, I suppose. More people called me Jola than called me Tony. And then I outgrew that because I needed a 6-seater because I was that busy. I needed a 6-seater to go with it. So I got myself, in one of the most stupid moves ever, right? I was seduced by the fact that it had tinted windows all the way round and looked like a pimpmobile, but it was a Kia Sedona. And it wasn't a pimpmobile in any way. Well, actually, I invented fake taxi. I was doing that for real before it was even invented, before it became a thing. Another true story for another day. But nevertheless, there it was, the Kia Sedona. Had to change the cam belt on it. Never ran right again since. Eventually wrote it off, threw it in the bin, got rid of it. Chopped the taxi firm into somebody else and went back to college to study to be a teacher. Meanwhile, I needed a teacher type car, and my mate was selling his Honda Accord. So I had that, and that was going really well. I see all these stories I forget even exist. That was going really well, the old Honda Accord. That wasn't a bad little car. It come from Castle Motors, had a full service history. It was ex-rep's car. You know, it was in good nick. It was a nice car. And then I lived at the top of a hill, and I came home and got in the shower. And then weirdly, my ex-girlfriend from like 15 years previous was stood outside shouting up to me in the shower. And I opened the window. I was, all right, Rach, want to join me? You know, for old time's sake. She went, no, is that your grey Honda? I said, yeah. She said, it's parked in my next door neighbour's porch. Now, whether it was me that let the handbrake off or whether it was handbrake failure, we don't really know. But either way, this car rolled down the hill on the road and then crossed over a garden, which had had children playing in it about 2 minutes previously, went through a gap in the fence that when I drove out, I clipped both wing mirrors, but somehow it went through backwards and landed in this bloke's porch. Did no damage to the porch. Bloody great V in the back of the Honda Accord. R.I.P. Honda Accord. Time you went up to Convertibles. Then, 2 kids, starting a new business, needed some practical motoring. Wanted a big estate. So I went back to my roots and I bought a Vauxhall Amiga estate. What a thing. What, in burgundy, faded burgundy. What a thing that was. I once put a 2-seater sofa in the back of that. Just slid it straight in with the seats down. What a thing that was. Huge. I went and did a job in it. And the bill for the job was £695. And I paid £500 for it. So it had paid for itself within one job. Mega. And that was ace. And then I finished up selling that to someone who was going to restore it to its former glory. I don't know if he ever did. Because I needed a van then at that point because the business was going well. So I got myself the classic Transit, S-Reg Transit, in white, as standard as it comes, rusty wheel arches all the way round. Proper, needed about £1,000 worth of welding done to it every MOT, but the engine was sound. I love that van. I had a one of those cheap Chinese 8-inch LCD things in that played DVDs and even had a TV, and you could put an aerial on your roof and watch TV with it. Brilliant. And if you didn't connect the handbrake thing, you could do it while you were driving. So I'd be driving along and the kids would be watching Finding Nemo. Brilliant. That was amazing. And I wanted an even better van. So I got rid of the Transit, sold that on, and got the Fiat Ducato. Just because there was one going cheap at the dealers up the road. And it was all right. Proper workhorse. Did exactly what it said. I got to admit, never ever let me down, that van. Did about 60,000 miles in it. Never let me down once. Good van. But oddly interesting. Because at the same time as having the Ducato, I also needed a car. Because sometimes the van was being used. So, reverting to type and doing what I did best, I went out and bought another Vauxhall estate. This time, the Vectra estate. And I can't believe I bought another Vectra. Because by that time, and I'd worked out that they were crap. But I bought it anyway. I mean, it proves that my descent into my mental healthness and my madness was going on way before I thought it was. Because why would you... I went to Telford to pick up that Vectra. Bright blue it was. And, yeah, I don't know why I bought that. But I did. Now we move into the realms of cars I bought where I actually have photos of the actual car as opposed to just stock library images. Because the Vectra had to go because by this time, man's middle class. So, man needs a proper car. So I went and got myself an A4 Avant. This one. Lovely thing. Except it had the CVT gearbox the worst gearbox Audi have ever made, and the one that they managed to get away with having a mass recall on and just let drivers fail. And the gearboxes just cooked themselves. Mine was no exception. It cooked itself. I had a complete gearbox rebuild. I had to have a reconditioned one. And I think the total bill was £3,500. And I think I've only paid £7 for the car. God, that was a lot of money. Should have done my own work. If I'd gone on the forums, which existed back then, if I'd gone on the forums and it went, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it, dodgy gearbox, don't touch it. Touched it, paid the price. So while that's going on, I'm now moving into the world of playing with other cars. So I'm on eBay. This is the night before I go to Benidorm for a stag do. And I'm on eBay, just seeing what's about. Scrolling through the listings. Oh, Audi A3, 1.8T, my favourite engine. 600 quid. Got private number plate on it with my uncle's initials. R40JHT. Oh, put a bid on that. Put a bid on it. Won it. Went to Benidorm. That's a video for another day. Came back. Picked this car up. It runs like a bag of shit. It wouldn't go over 2,000 revs. It sounded like it was being strangled. It rattled, it rocked. But nevertheless, I took it in. Had a quick play around with it. Worked out that the mass airflow filter needed changing. Changed that. Suddenly, I'm in a car that costs 600 quid and I'm doing 130 mile an hour. That is value for money motoring right there. You ain't never going to do that in a milk float. Well, you might do in about 30 years' time, but milk floats will never compete with the Audi A3 for value for money. Fixed up all the other little bits. Brilliant. Took the number plate off it. Put that on retention. Original number plate goes back on. I've now got a private number plate and an Audi A3 to play in. Lovely. Except I got bored. So I decided it wasn't big enough. I wanted something bigger to put dogs in. So I got rid of that. I got a Shogun long wheelbase, 7-seater. Oh man, what a truck. What a beast of a truck that was. Ideal, as I was working in Foy at the time, and they had really narrow streets. But nevertheless, it filled the entire road. That was a good truck. And then, as you can tell, I get bored quite quickly. So I put it on Facebook and swapped it for a BMW 530. The new shape one. I can't, what E number, I can't remember. So I should know me E numbers, but I don't. Drove this 530 home. Oh, absolutely smooth, beautiful thing, lovely. Parked it up. X comes out. What the fuck's that? What's my new BMW? I don't like it. It's too big. Get it off the driveway. And I've had a Shogun parked there for 6 months. This is the reasoning I was dealing with. I had a Shogun parked there and you won't let me have a 530. No, get rid of it. So for an easy life, I got rid of it and swapped it for a Jag X-Type V6 2.5. Just to piss her off. Oh dear. That was my first ever V6, that was. And it was great. Except for one small issue. It did about 8 to the gallon. It was one of the worst cars I've had on fuel. Not the worst, we'll come on to them in a minute. But it was one of the worst. And I just thought, come on. You're not really getting much pleasure out of this. Especially at 8 to the gallon. I mean, it wasn't, it would drive more than that. But what's the point of having a V6 if you're not going to listen to it? So I used to scream my tits out of it. Hence why I only got 8 to the gallon. So that went, and then I got a Volvo V40. Clearly, descent into madness had reached peak at this point. Because, in fact, that was the car I had a breakdown in more ways than one. December the 2nd, 2017. I turned the key in the ignition, battery was flat. Literally had a full mental breakdown whilst my car was having a breakdown. So that was the car that finished me off. That's about the only redeeming, well, it's not even a redeeming feature, but nevertheless, it's a landmark, I suppose. So that got rid of that. And then at the time, my boy was obsessed with Mondos. So I went out and got a Mondeo because he cried when he seen that car. He came home from school and went, "You've got my dream car." His dream car was a Ford Mondeo, 1.8 LX, I think that's all it was. Nothing special. But good cars. They really were good cars, the Mondos. Proper good cars. Enjoyed that a lot. Sadly, dual mass flywheel went in it. That was the end of that. So, proving that I needed cars with space and stuff, I went out and bought an Audi TT. This is the 225, but been remapped to 275. It had a dump valve. It had a whistling dump valve. Change gear. Change gear. Oh, proper stuff that was. Oh, I drove that TT miles. Well, I was working in Enkley at the nuclear power station by this point. So I used to commute up and back every week. And took the TT on the journeys. And then decided that, hang on, I've got my timeline wrong here. Or have I? Yeah. Yeah, I have. Right, I'm going to have to change this round. Got my timeline wrong. Because I decided I wanted something bigger. Now, this is probably the most controversial car in the entire video. Because you're either going to love it or you hate it. I absolutely loved it. It's this. The Peugeot 407 Coupe 2.7 HDI. Heavier than a super tanker full of oil. Longer than a super tanker full of oil. But nevertheless, I absolutely loved it. It had double glazing. Why? Why would you put... The doors weighed about a ton each. But for a car to go up and down the M5 in, and well, I'd moved on to Wales by this point. So my journey home was a good 4.5 hours. So you might as well sit in something with heated leather and all the toys. Even I like knobs, as you know. Far too many knobs on the 407 dashboard for my liking. But nevertheless, I loved it. I still think to this day, it's a good looking car. And I know you don't agree with me, but that's fine. We're all allowed opinions. Unless, of course, you're an evangelist. Then no one else is allowed an opinion except yours. I loved it. And then I was driving past a T-junction and some old boy in a Skoda Octavia T-boned me in it. And then tried to flee the scene. So I went in hot pursuit. And I caught up with him, expecting it to be some burly plasterer that's going to get out and give me hiding. And instead he got out. He must have been 85 if he was a day. He was on crutches. And he said, "I was just trying to get off the main road." I don't care if you're 85, mate. Don't fucking lie to me. You were trying to run away. Now, so anyway, I did very well out of the insurance. I only paid 1,700 quid for that car and I got 2.5 out of the insurance. Lovely. Oh, and I got 1,700 quid for whiplash and 8 free massages as well. Right good day that was. So if your insurance premiums went up in about 2019, blame me. I'm happy to take the blame. I was having a lovely time. So after that, I went down the auction. And I wasn't intending on buying anything. You know what it's like. You go to a car auction, you're not going to buy anything. And there was this Shogun pin in there. And I thought, that looks like it's been owned by an old woman. And it's got low mileage. And it looks in good nick. And it's a Shogun, even though it's the pinnings. Just, you know, the back seats were smaller than the bloody TTs. Anyway, I got it for, I think I stole it for like 400 quid or something. And I thought, I'll keep this for a while. It'd be ideal, put dogs in, etc. Just drive it round. And then I discovered that the Mitsubishi GDI engine is a pile of shit. And the miles per gallon on it were worse than the bloody Jag V6. So that had to go. And then I went back to the same auction, and there just happened to be a Kia Sorento in there. And I'd always liked them since the day Andre Agassi used to do the adverts for them, where he was driving them around the desert and jumping around in them. I never did any jumping around in them. I did, however, drive into the back of someone at a roundabout when I was looking at my phone. And I wrote it off. So that was the end of that. That one had to go. Then I picked up this A4 Saloon. This, one of my greatest feats ever. Picked this up from a pub near Saltash for 900 quid. With the number plate N1GYO, which is currently on my Juliet. The number plate is currently valued at around 1,750 quid. So I took the number plate off the car, put it on retention, polished the car up, drove it for a bit, sold it for 1,200 quid. So I made 300 quid on the car, and I got a number plate out of it. That was what I walked up there and I went, is this a car? I said, yeah. Does it come with a number plate? She went, yeah, I don't want it. Thank you very much. I'll have a bit of that. If you're watching this, sorry. And then I thought, right, it's time I had one. I haven't had one yet. I've had a TT. I haven't had a TT Roadster. So I went and got myself a TT Roadster because there was one going cheap in Plymouth with a knackered roof. And I thought, if there's one thing I know about convertibles, the roofs are either fixable very cheaply or they're not fixable at all. It's like going into a casino and putting 50 quid on red or black. Anyway, I think it cost me £260 to fix the roof. And I ended up with that TT. And that was they really, if you've never owned a TT, you can pick them up for less than £1,000 these days. Go get one. Make sure it's the 225 BAM engine. Don't bother getting anything else. Unless you get the V8, or is it V6? It's a V6, isn't it? But the 225 BAM engine, one of the best engines Audi have ever made, again. And take it out and rag it round the roads and the roundabouts. It is tremendous fun. Yeah, I know you can call it hairdresser's car and everything else, but for less than £1,000, you can have it. It's a proper car to drive. It really is good. If you haven't had one, get one. Go and get one now. Go on. Stop watching a video. Go and get one. And then somebody owed me money. They didn't want to give me the money. They wanted to give me a Range Rover instead. 4.4, but it had LPG conversion. I've always wanted a Range Rover. Seemed like a perfect deal. I'll have that. I'm now a Range Rover driving, suit wearing executive. And I'm having a lovely time in my Range Rover. LPG wise, I was probably getting about 30 to the gallon out of it with LPG. And there was a place up Roach that sold LPG at the time, so it was all right. Unfortunately, it caught fire. And not really understanding how LPG works, I thought, I'm sat on a bomb. So I ran away from it, let it burn out. And then off it went to the insurance company and claimed on it. It was all right. So I went out and bought myself this BMW 320 Coupe. That's an E92. I do know the E number for that one. It had a misfire on cylinder 3. And then it turned out that all the valve seals were dodgy and various other stuff was dodgy. And it just became one of those, look, it ain't never worth spending the money on it to repair it. Just move it on. So I sold it with all the faults on it. And then she was moaning at me about other stuff. And how she didn't have a reliable car and this, that and the other. So I went out and got this X1. I must have a photo of the X1 somewhere. Oh, well. Library photo. And I kept that. I had kept the X1 for about 3 years. It just became like the utility vehicle. I taught kids to drive in the X1. But it was just a 3 Series that was a bit higher up. It never really... It didn't set the world on fire. It was just a It was a tin of Magnolia paint, really. It was just an X1. You know, the X5, which will feature in the cars I bought to sell on, and ended up not selling it because I liked it too much. The X5 and the X3, bigger trucks. The X1 was just well, like every other SUV these days, isn't it? It's just a saloon car or a hatchback that's just a bit higher up. But nevertheless, kept it for 3 years, so I must have liked something about it. And then I bought this Ford Galaxy. I don't know, I was at an auction and it was so cheap, I thought I'll buy that. And I ended up giving it to my boy, who slept in it, because he worked out that the back seats of a Ford Galaxy, the size of it was like a huge double bed. And at the time he was going to college in Exmouth. And I said, I'll pay for your Airbnb. And he was taking the money for the Airbnb and sleeping in his fucking van. Sleeping in the Galaxy. Oh dear. Then lockdown hit. And I started going all over the country buying cars. And this was one of the first ones I bought. And I've still got it to this day. Because this A4 Cabriolet, the missus fell in love with it. And I bought it for me. And she went, no, I'm having that. And it's still here. It's over there. It's parked up there. 1.8T engine, as I've mentioned several times. So when she had that, I thought, well, I need something for myself now. And it was my birthday. And I thought, do you know what, Tom? Treat yourself. So I did. I went out and got a BMW 645. Oh, what a beast of a car that was. Oh, man. Right up there in the top 5 cars I wish I'd never sold. That's the first one out of all that lot that I wish I'd never sold. But I had to replace one of the headlights, and I managed to get a second-hand headlight for 650 quid, because they're the Angel Eye Xenon bloody fibre optic. The radio didn't work. It had to be connected to Hoffenheim, and then new stuff downloaded on the... It's full of fibre optics, that car. But nevertheless, what a beast of a thing. That won the prize for worst car on fuel ever that I've owned out of the entire list. Worse than the Range Rovers, worse than all of it. 6 to the gallon when I was driving it. Because you don't have a 645 and not drive it properly. That's the thing, right? That's the thing with me and these cars. If you're going to have a car like that, drive it properly. Don't tootle along at 30 mile an hour everywhere. Get it out on the dual carriageway. Get it out on the country roads and blast it. And actually drive it like it's meant to be driven. Hammer it. Enjoy it. And boy, did I do that with that. God, I love that car. But I needed a project. So the 645 went. And I went and got myself this Alfa Romeo GTV Spider. In sick green. Faded. Peeling. Sick green. And I thought, I'm bored. I've got a few quid at the moment. Let's just have some fun. So I took it to my mates and had it fully wrapped. In Rosso red, obviously. With a black bonnet. And this is the final result. Oh, I just thought, why not? Why not do it while you can? So I did. And it looked beautiful. And then the cam belt snapped. So I had to get a replacement engine for it. So I had a replacement engine put in it. And then it failed the MOT. And then when I took it back in, about 6 months later, I thought, I wonder how many jobs it needs doing. I have never seen a list of jobs as long as that in my life. It was 2 pages. And I just said, do you know what? You've sunk enough into it. You ain't never getting your money back. It's time to call it a day. So I scrapped it. Didn't have a choice. It was rotten underneath. Absolutely rotten. She said, but the woman I bought it off said she'd had it undersealed. I presume she had it undersealed with fairy liquid or something, because it was completely rotted through. And it just wasn't worth it. And I love that bloody car. But off it went. So I thought, well, there's only one thing for it. Get out and buy yourself another Alfa Romeo. I'm looking at the auction in Colchester. This thing's on there. This was it at the end, after I'd had everything done to it. But at the beginning, it was in the auction with a flat tyre and no clutch. And I still paid £500 for it. I had to have it transported down. Cost me another 300 quid. New clutch and all that lot was 1,500 quid. I then had a full detail and paint correction on it. That was 500 quid. So I think I was about 3.5 into it by the time it looked like that. But it was a remapped 2.4 JTTM, turning out about 250, 260 brake horsepower. Oh, the number one car I wish I'd never sold. That one. Should never have sold that. Never. Made £1,000 on it. Didn't lose. Took it drag racing. Down at Perranporth Airfield. Took it drag racing. And beat a Chevy Camaro. I lost to a VW Caddy, which had an RS4 engine in it. And did 1,100, had 1,100 brake horsepower. I can't understand how I lost to that. Beat it off the line though. But the 159 should never have sold. Never, ever have sold it. Oh, fucking depresses me now. Still, anyway, it's gone. I may have another one. And then the bloke up the road offered me a 147. I'm in full Alfa territory at this point. And it's the Q2 Sport. That's a rare thing. So I bought it and I thought I'll give it to the youngest daughter to learn to drive in. In fact, the Mito that she now has is sat right in front of me. And that would have been fine if it wasn't for the fact that it was 10 grand a year for her to insure it. So that didn't work. So I kept it for myself and bombed around the streets in it. Had a lovely time. And then sold it to some bloke in Croydon. Delivered it, actually. And then this timeline's all over the shop now. That never happened in that order. But nevertheless, there's a Mini Cooper convertible in here. That was about 2 years previous. I don't know. Look, the problem is when you're like having a mental breakdown and licking windows, you don't really know what's going on around you. So you don't pay attention to dates and times and things. So as an accurate timeline, this simply isn't true. Because I know when I had that TT convertible, I was proper mental. Because a woman rang up and said, because when I was finally going to sell it, no, not the TT convertible, the Mini convertible, Mini Cooper it was. And when I was finally selling it, a woman rang me up and said, how big's the boot? So I've got a video somewhere of me shoving me missus in the boot and shutting the boot up to prove that you could get a grown woman inside of a Mini Cooper boot. Which isn't necessarily the act of a sane man. So anyway, that went. And then I went down the auction again. you know, it's a lot of these stories involved. I went down the auction and there was this TT convertible there, 225 BAM engine. So I had that and ended up lending it to Lady St. Germans. True story. A member of the aristocracy. She's going out with me mate. And I was selling her a BMW for her and she went, you haven't got a car on bar, have you? I said, yeah, you can have my TT. It's just sat there in the driveway. I'm not really using it that much. So she had it for about 6 months and then gave it back to me with a magnum of champagne in it. Yeah, there you go. So then I thought I'd have another truck. So I went down the auction. No, this one was online. And I bought myself, because I always wanted one, a Nissan Pathfinder. Because my Welsh cousin had them for years and I always thought they were nice big trucks. And I also knew that they had major problems with rust on the chassis and that the chassis disintegrated. But I bought it anyway. And you'll never guess what. I had major problems with rust and the chassis disintegrating. So that was the end of that.